Hello, amazing business owners. I am recording this in May of 2020, and that is important for a couple of reasons. First, today's episode, I've actually recorded twice. The first time I recorded it was back in January, and I have since been quarantined and on lockdown with my family, as most of us have during this pandemic with coronavirus. And for that reason, I have now seen Frozen 2 a lot more than I had before I recorded it the first time. And so I wanted to add some things to this episode. And second, I want you to know that man, things seem bleak right now, but we will get through this. I want to be a little bit of hope, a little bit of help in this time wherever I possibly can. And so while I do have several other actionable businessy episodes coming up, I wanted you to hear this one because this one has a little bit more of the things that you need to do to not only take care of yourself, but move your business forward and your life forward in positive ways. And I feel like we all need that right now, right? Things are rough. I also wanted to tell you that you may hear some background noise. My entire family is home now, and I used to have about 2 to 3 hours a day where I could do recordings with no one else around other than the dogs. And I even put the dogs outside for that. And the reality is that I don't have that anymore. So you might hear something in the background. I have done my best. I actually have a huge sign on my office door that says I'm recording. There is badassery going on in here. That's literally what it says. And so, I don't know. My 5-year-old can't necessarily read the word badassery yet. I guess we need to be working on that in her vocabulary. But I want you to know that you may hear something in the background, and I just ask for your forgiveness and grace in this time, as I'm sure that you are needing to have that a little bit for yourself as well. Today's episode is going to be 5 business lessons from the movie Frozen 2. And I know that sounds really weird and why would she talk about a kid's movie? I don't get it. This sounds stupid. But I promise you I will bring it back to your business several times over, because the things that really, really hit me in this movie are things that we all need to hear every once in a while, if not every day. So I promise you I'll bring it back to your business. This is about business lessons. This is about the important things that we have to do and the things that we face in our lives that may not be ideal, but we keep moving forward. So I do want to ask for your help with iTunes reviews. If you need to, you can pause it right here and go leave a review. Reviews help me to know what I can do to better serve you, to better help you, and the content that you loved and the guests that you loved, all of that. It also helps me to help more people and to serve more people, because ultimately that's my goal. I want to impact lives. I basically want to set women up to stand up for themselves and say, I will do what I want to build my life in the way that I want it. And in order to make that mission happen, it does require getting bigger and impacting more people, impacting more women. So I would love your iTunes review and a positive review. If you are someone that likes to help other people, that is how you can help other people as well. And I so appreciate those. So thank you in advance for that. As always, you can check out the show notes for this and every episode at businessstraightUp.com/podcast. This will be episode number 34. So if you want to head straight to this episode, it's businessstraightup.com/034. And I will link to some of the things that I'm talking about in the movie and in this episode under the show notes. So I hope that everyone is staying well and staying healthy and staying hopeful, because man, I feel like the emotions are such a roller coaster right now. 1 hour where I can do anything and look at all this time that I have to do things. And then the next hour you're like, the world is ending. And we're just all over the place with emotions right now. And you are not alone. I so feel you. The struggle is real. And I really want this episode to be some hope and some things to think about in your life. So without further ado, let's talk about 5 business lessons from the Disney movie Frozen 2. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Hello, amazing business owners and friends. I am so glad that you're here today. Thank you so much for pressing play. We're going to have kind of an odd podcast episode here, but I want you to stay with me because I promise I am going to bring it back to your business and what this means for your business and how you can apply it in your business. So if you are like me, you might have some kiddos that love movies. And I say that and I'm kind of putting it on the kids, but the reality is that I love movies too. We see a lot of movies. We are usually, when they have those months that like a ton of great movies come out, so usually like November, December, and then the summer, we are at the movie theater like once a week on average. And you may remember back in November, unless you were living under a rock, that a second part of a very popular movie came out from Disney called Frozen 2. There was a lot of controversy about this movie too. It's so funny. I'm in a lot of moms groups on Facebook, and so many of them were saying that the movie was too dark for kids. It was the first time that they had talked about the girl's parents dying, and that was, I guess, a big concern for a lot of parents. It was kind of eye-opening for me too to realize that maybe I'm a little liberal with what I let my kids watch. It was funny to kind of see this uproar. But we went to go and see the movie in November when it came out. The first weekend it was out. This is something that my daughter has been looking forward to for, I don't know, how long have they been teasing it? Like a year, which again is kind of another marketing lesson. I mean, let's be real. Disney is a marketing powerhouse. When you have something new, let people get excited about it. They did that so well. And when Frozen 2 came out, we were all over it. We bought tickets way in advance. And then when we went to see the movie hit me really, really, really hard, which is funny because it's a kid's movie. And I wouldn't even say that Frozen was a favorite for me. I actually try to intentionally steer my daughter away from princess movies, unless it's things like Moana, where, you know, princess can save someone or save herself. I hate this whole damsel in distress in every damn movie that she watches. So I try to steer her away from those. Frozen is not one of my favorite movies, but Frozen 2, holy moly, the movie hit me really, really hard. I was sobbing in the theater at the end. My daughter and I turned to each other, both sobbing, and we were just bawling. We just turned to each other, hugged each other, and obviously we liked it for different reasons. But it was definitely something that hit me hard and still does even when I watch it now. So I'm talking about this from a 6 month later standpoint. It is now May of 2020 and the movie has been out for 6 months. Disney even put it out early for all of us parents that are stuck at home in quarantine, which I am so grateful for. But Frozen 2 took the idea of going away from the damsel in distress, typical woman in peril Disney movie, and went 1,000 steps further in showing both Anna and Elsa really embrace who they are. So before I go any further, I need you to know that, first of all, I promise I will bring this to your business. So just give me some time. I swear it'll be well worth it. I also want you to know, second, that if you listen to this episode and you have not seen the movie, there might be spoilers. So spoiler alert, I'm not planning on it, but it could happen. So as a kind of synopsis, in the first movie, if you have not seen it, basically Elsa is a princess born with magical powers of ice in her hands. She is warned that fear will be her biggest enemy as people learn about this and want to destroy her because they fear her powers. So she hides her powers for years and years, and finally they come spilling out. She freezes everything unintentionally. So the movie moves through her sister, following her into the mountains to try to talk to her into unfreezing their town, and in the end, they end up saving each other. kind of a very foundational understanding of the first movie. And that leads me into the first business lesson from Frozen 2. We got five business lessons. Number 1, Elsa fought so hard in the first movie to hold back what made her special. And then she finally embraced it towards the end of the movie. Finish line, done and done, right? But in Frozen 2, she is now comfortable in her castle as the queen, and she's happy. And she starts hearing a voice calling her, and she doesn't want to hear it. She wants to stay comfortable and happy, but the voice won't leave her alone. So the first lesson for your business and really your life from Frozen 2 is to keep going and listen to your calling. We all seem to think that there's some finish line, right? And quite frankly, I really struggle with this. We set a goal. We want to hit 6 figures or book so many weddings or be published in a specific publication or be a part of a big festival. There are so many goals and finish lines, and for some reason we have it in our head that once we get there, we will have made it. But the reality is that just as we hit those finish lines and smash those goals and start to get comfortable, something in us is calling out for more. We are human. We are meant to grow constantly. We aren't meant to be stagnant. Even if you worked a 9-to-5 office job and you didn't have the entrepreneur or business owner role, chances are there would still be something. A race you want to finish, a hobby you want to master. We are meant to grow, and those finish lines will never mean that we're done, because the only done is dead. And it sounds really morbid and terrible, but it's true. Life means growth and change, and as much as we try to resist it and not listen to those voices, those callings for something new or bigger, we can't help but hear them. Elsa was happy and comfortable with her family, but still heard that voice, knowing that there was something else inside of her that wanted to grow even further. So I have a question for you. What are you holding back on? What calls are you ignoring? Maybe it's something you're supposed to be sharing, a piece of your story that you're not quite comfortable letting out just yet. Maybe it's a specific product or service that you really love, but you think that people won't really understand. Or maybe it's just being yourself entirely. That has been my own personal burden for years, and I'm finally coming out of it. Maybe it's raising your prices to a point that you can design your life in the way that you want to, instead of running yourself into the ground to barely make ends meet. No matter what it is time to start listening to those voices and asking yourself if you're holding back in some way that could catapult you forward into the next phase of your business and ultimately your life. It is so important that we listen to these calls, these voices, these things that we feel inside of us. Your intuition is crazy smart. Don't ignore it. All right, number 2, business lesson number 2 from Frozen 2. Embrace the unknown, even when it's difficult. So eventually, Elsa listens to the voice that's making her uncomfortable and encouraging her to go further, to step out of her comfort zone. And this is actually the main song of the movie, called Into the Unknown. And it is the most adorable thing to hear little kids sing this song. I know every single word because it is our alarm clock. My daughter wakes up singing it so the whole house can hear. And I'm not even mad because it's a really good song. The song lyrics go into Elsa's struggle in hearing that voice, wanting to stay where she's at, but also wanting to go further. The duality of happiness and still wanting more. And that hits me really hard personally as well. I have been working through several courses and with a mentor since 2018 to work on some issues that I have. And one of those is guilt. To be so freaking happy and proud to be where I'm at, and at the same time wanting to grow and go further. After all, why should I want more when there are so many that have so much less? That makes me a heartless bitch, right? Wrong. Our world is abundant, and one person having more doesn't mean that others have less. This has been so hard for me to embrace. Last year in Boss Book Club, which, by the way, if you're not in that, you need to get in that. Go to businessstraightup.com/community, because seriously, it's amazing. So last year in Boss Book Club, we read Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass at Making Money. And in that book, she shared that if you are a good person that wants to help others, you have a duty to make more money because the world could use more awesome people with the resources to make changes instead of the current jackasses that we have in charge. And that's not meant to be a political statement. I think we can all agree that the people that are running things need a little bit of a reset right now. While listening to that book, it cracked me up, but it also spoke to me because moving forward, growing and expanding means having more resources to help others. And that is where I want to be. So I have another question for you. Do you struggle with guilt? Do you think that you can't charge a certain amount because people can't afford it? Do you think that you can't make that much because your parents didn't? And look how hard they worked. Believing that more money makes you a greedy and terrible person is bullshit. And I know that I have struggled with all of these things. And I've even had people shame me for my goals. And while I'm still a work in progress, I am proud to say that I'm growing more and more and deciding to let that guilt go. It is okay to be happy with what you have and still want more. It's not selfish. It's human to want to grow. It doesn't make you a terrible person. And as a matter of fact, most awesome people who grow bring others with them along the way. And that's exactly what happens to Elsa in the movie. She decides to listen to that voice, discovers some truths, and discovers that she is meant for so much more than being a queen. And that doesn't mean that being a queen is bad. It just means that she's growing and is in a different place, and in moving forward to embrace that place in the world and her full talents and abilities, she elevates everyone else around her. So, are you struggling with guilt? Are you allowing something to keep you back? I want you to think about these things because I know that I have struggled with these so much, especially as a business owner where we do have control over that. It's such a different way of thinking than an employee where you don't have a lot of control over your salary. When it comes to being a business owner, you do. Are you letting something hold you back? Are you letting guilt hold you back or some sort of belief hold you back? I really want you to think about that, and I encourage you to start working on that. All right, business lesson 3 from Frozen 2. And it's kind of just a quote. It's so funny. I have like titles for each of these. And this title is, quote, "I'm here. What do you need?" Kristoff actually comes and saves Anna from being crushed. And those are his first words to her. When Anna is trying to right a wrong that has happened in the past, she's about to be crushed in the process, and Kristoff runs up, picks her up, and says, "I'm here. What do you need?" I feel like if I was on Facebook right now, I would be commenting and going, yes, this, because it is so freaking important to surround yourself with people who are there for you, that aren't going to try to correct you constantly or tear you down or belittle your dreams. Surround yourself with people that show up and say, "I'm here. What do you need?" When I have had people show up for me like this, sometimes I don't even know how to answer that question. When you're going through something rough and people offer to help, sometimes it's difficult to even know what help to ask for. But just knowing that they're there can mean the world. And sometimes the help you need might be something that sounds kind of weird and out there. I remember when I had my first child, I was in the hospital and the food was absolutely terrible. So my oldest is 15. I'm old. This was before the days of personal chefs and postpartum care, y'all. Let's just say my second birth was very different than my first. I had just come down from the epidural. I hadn't eaten in days because I was in labor, and trying to eat the hospital food was gag-inducing. It was so gross. One of my friends at the time, who didn't have kids, called me and was completely straightforward. She said, "I don't know what you need right now, but I'm on my way to the hospital and wanted to see if I could bring you anything." And I very quickly responded, "Food." She brought me Subway, and that sandwich tasted so damn good. And I don't even like Subway, truly, but at that point, it was so good. And at the time, I was pretty sure it was the most amazing thing I had ever eaten in my life. She didn't know what I needed. She had zero experience in what I had just been through and was still facing as a first-time new mom. She didn't have kids. She didn't have any brothers or sisters that had kids. She didn't know. But she stepped up and said, "What can I do for you?" That sandwich wasn't just about being hungry. It was about someone being honest and asking me what I needed. It wasn't everyone bringing me flowers, bringing me stuffed animals, all of these things that you go home from the hospital with that you're like, what am I going to do with these things? She asked me straight up what I needed. Even if she didn't understand, even if she didn't get it, she was there and ready to give me whatever I needed in that moment. I want you to surround yourself with those people, and in that same sentence, be that person for others. Who is going through something difficult right now that you can reach out to? Can you text them or call them to see what they need? If it's something kind of weird, are you okay with that? You won't always be able to help, but stepping up to ask if you can and then being the person that helps can mean the world to someone. And it is so crazy important to surround yourself with these people, not only in your business, but in your life as well. These are the people that will lift you up and cheer you on, whether they understand or not. Even better if they completely understand what you're going through and they're still there for you asking how they can help. All right, so we have our 3 business lessons, and quite frankly, I originally recorded this episode with just 3 lessons, and I'm re-recording it because I wanted to add 2 more. These 2 are, well, I threw in the Christoph thing, the friend thing. There's so many things that have changed since I decided to re-record this, but the next 2 are crazy, crazy important. So number 4 is integrity. This means fixing things that went wrong, even when it means doing something difficult yourself. Again, spoiler alert. Anna is determined to fix something that happened years before she was even born, a wrong that was committed against a different group of people. And in order to do so, she has to tear down a structure that could potentially flood her entire kingdom. But she is determined to do it anyway to make things right. How many times have you been in a situation where something went wrong and you have to be the one to make it right, even if it isn't your fault? I can't even tell you how many times I will see business owners say something like, "Well, there's nothing I could have done. It was the shipping that caused the problem." Well, newsflash, yes, that is true. It may have been something beyond your control, but what are you going to do to try to help the situation? Can you keep someone in the loop constantly to let them know you haven't forgotten about them? Can you send a special gift? Can you step in and personally deliver it to them to help them see that you are trying your best, even if it's something that you couldn't personally control? This will come into play even if it's not necessarily when something goes wrong. Do you keep your word? I mean, really, that's what integrity is all about, right? When you say you're going to do something, do you follow through? Keeping your word can be really hard. I have been asked to do interviews and surveys, and I say, sure, and then I realize I've taken on way too much, and I shouldn't have committed to them. I'm not bowing out of them because I'm a terrible person and I just wanted to get someone's hopes up to dash them, but I'm truly overwhelmed with trying to get everything done. And I'm sure that those people would 100% understand if I was honest with them, but I said yes to too much, and then I'm lacking in integrity when I can't do it all. Here's something that's even harder to embrace. When you say you're going to do something that has no one else involved, do you still follow through? Do you make promises to yourself or say you're going to do something specific for yourself and then just blow it off? Think of New Year's resolutions. I really, really struggle with that last part. I keep my word to others in most cases, but myself, nah. Those promises go to the bottom of the priority list, and that is not a good thing. This means really learning to be specific on what you say yes to and what you have to say no to, because if you say yes, you need to follow through. Are you going to eat better? Are you really going to eat better? Are you telling yourself you're going to read one new book a month in this new year and then you don't? There are so many promises and things we say we're going to do. And when someone else isn't involved, those things are forgotten or they lose their luster and they get pushed aside far too quickly. Just look at those New Year's resolutions. Another example of the promises we make to ourselves that we don't keep. And then what happens afterwards? You tend to beat yourself up, or at least I do. If I didn't keep my word to myself, I beat myself up, and it just becomes this really, really crappy cycle. Living your life in integrity means keeping your word as much as humanly possible, even when it's keeping your word to yourself. This is an everyday lesson to me and something that I've been working on, and quite frankly, I don't think I'll ever stop learning in this arena. Growth is inevitable, and this is one area that I hope I continue to grow in every single day. So we have the first 4. Are you ready for the last one? Number 5 in Business Lessons from Frozen 2. Anna's big song in the movie is called Do the Next Right Thing. And quite frankly, I don't love it just because it's really depressing and sad. But at the same time, it's a lesson on its own because let's be real, life doesn't always go the way we planned. Shit happens, and quite frankly, just smiling your way through it sometimes is so freaking hard. Sometimes we are in a dark place and we don't know what to do. We feel lost, we feel down, we feel afraid, and just overwhelmed by everything swirling around us. And let me tell you again, I'm recording this again, re-recording in May of 2020 while I am quarantined and locked down at home. And I feel like this is more applicable now than ever. I won't tell you what's happening to Anna at this point in the movie because it's kind of the climax of the movie, but let's just say her world is crumbling and she is overcome with grief. But she knows that wallowing in her cave, which literally in the movie she's in a cave, and letting that darkness take over doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't help her people, her family, or herself. So she takes a few moments to cry and be sad and let the grief take her. And then she gets up to keep moving. And even though she doesn't really know what to do next, she takes a step forward. She sings Do the Next Right Thing. I have spoken pretty candidly about this in the past, so this is not a surprise to any of you, but I am a recovering perfectionist. When I get overwhelmed, I just do nothing. If I can't do it perfectly in the past, I would just not do it at all. One of my friends calls this perfection paralysis. Elizabeth Gilbert says perfectionism is just fear in fancy shoes, and she is 100% right. My fear of not being good enough takes over, and instead of just taking the next step and getting things done, I do nothing. It has been a consistent struggle, but I am happy to say that I have improved greatly, and I will even admit that sometimes when I get into overwhelmed do nothing mode, sometimes Anna's song comes into my head, Do the Next Right Thing. Because even small steps are better than none. And sometimes small is all that we can handle. Especially right now when we are watching the entire world around us crumble with this pandemic and all of this unknown and everything that's going on. If you're going through a tragedy or a heartbreak, sometimes it takes everything you have to just hop in the shower, especially for my moms out there, right? But moving forward and doing the next right thing is so important in our businesses and in life in general. I am recording this in May of 2020, but my original recording I actually did on Martin Luther King Day. And so I wanted to share a quote from this amazing, brilliant man, Martin Luther King Jr., and he said, "You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step." Mic drop, right? What have you been waiting to do because you're not sure it's entirely perfect yet? What are some small steps that you can take, even if you don't have a huge long-term plan? Even if you don't know your ideal goals for Q3 or Q2 or 2020 or whatever, even if you don't have the step-by-step, what are some of the smaller, tiny pieces that you can take right now that you know will move you at least a little bit forward, even if it's not a huge leap? I have shared a few times that 2019 was my glow stick year, and I'll share more about that at a later date. When I was at a business conference in October, My beautiful friend, Lauren, she's been on the podcast before, shared some wisdom that she has learned in studying human design, which is crazy, y'all. If you want to go down a rabbit hole of like how your body and your personality is designed, it's crazy. I don't know anything about this, so I want to be clear that I am not an expert. Lauren is. I will link her in the show notes. But she told me that based on my birth information that I am a generator with emotional authority. And again, I don't know what that is. All I know is what she told me. And I was completely confused and thinking that this was just a little crazy. But she grabbed my hands and looked at me and said, "Don't ever hold back. We need you. We need your energy in the world." And then I started crying at a cocktail party in California, surrounded by a ton of colleagues and business owners. Because that's not embarrassing or anything. What she said to me was exactly right, and it applies to every single human, and I will say it to you too. Don't ever hold back. You were given a gift that is specific to you and only you. You are the only person in the world that can share that gift in the way that you do and touch the humans that need it most. Holding back isn't just hurting you anymore. You are keeping that gift from the people that need it most. I remember the first time someone told me it was selfish to hold back, and I was like, yeah, okay, woo-woo, whatever. But for some reason, when Lauren said it, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because she's good at that. You matter. You are valuable. You have a gift to share that only you can share. So listen to the voices that are calling you, embrace your talents, surround yourself with amazing people, accept growth, and do the next right thing. So now that I am personally holding back tears and going to take a deep breath, if you loved this episode, even though it was weird that we're talking about a kid's movie and you loved it anyway, can you head on over to iTunes and leave a review? I would so appreciate it. It really, really helps me to know how I can better serve you, what content you need, what you love, and the feedback is crazy valuable. As always, if there is anything I can help you with on this amazing journey in business and life, please reach out. I may not have the answer you need, but I will make damn sure that I do my best to help you find it. May you have an amazing and blessed day filled with love and adventures, and may you always listen to those voices in the back of your head. I hope that you are doing well and staying healthy, and if there's anything I can do to help, always reach out. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.